Hello, BookTube. I am continuing my apology tour of checking in with all the BookTube events that are causing my BookTube burnout. I want to check in on all these things so that I'm not just ignoring them, and also to show you what I'm watching and what I'm enthusiastically participating in, whether I'm a co-host or not. And there are a lot of events that are going on and that are going to be going on. And one of the other ones, I ran out of time. I would have done all these yesterday, but I ran out of usable light. One of the ones that I wanted to talk about is retro romance. Of course, I want to talk about retro romance. This is a romance reading event. Storm reads, Sarah at the Bookish Knitter, and Melissa from Libraries and Labradors are co-hosting a romance reading event for the month of February, for Valentine's month. And the stress is on retro. And their idea is that retro is anything before 2003. So anything that's 20 years old or more. If it's published before 2003, it counts. To read that. Read one, read two, read a bunch. And of course, the reason I keep saying of course is because my very favorite kind of romance to read. I'm a very enthusiastic, I am a happy romance reader. But my favorite romance to read is not just romances set in the Regency period in England, but old romances set in the Regency period in England. Old Signet and Zebra romances, Regency romances from 40 years ago. I am well out of danger. I will not be reading anything that even comes close to 2003. I love those books. Absolutely love them. I can read them and reread them. They are the ultimate, for me, they are the ultimate palate cleanser. I've heard from a lot of you that your ultimate palate cleanser, whatever works for you, is different. I love them. Absolutely love them. I would love to find more of them at yard sales or library sales or whatever. I don't usually find them. I could kick myself. I saw a lot of them up at a big library sale up in Vermont years ago, and I picked and chose. And I shouldn't have done that. I still kick myself about that. No one was visiting that table. Other people were visiting the romance tables, but not these old Regencies. I should have gone to the woman at the table and said, I'll give you $30 for all of these. Just put them all in boxes. I'll take them all. And just not bothered about it. That was probably the biggest collection of these things I'm ever going to see. You're, of course, under orders to find me old Signet Regency romances at any yard sale or charity shop that you go to and mail them to me at your own expense. But that's beside the point. For retro romance, I wanted to show you some things that I am going to read. I have a vast collection of these old Regencies, although I'm missing 2/3 of them. So there's plenty out there for me to get. I want to show you just a few of what I'm talking about. This is an old Signet Regency romance called The Wicked Corinthian by Eileen Jackson. These are the ones I'm talking about. They have that sign on the spine. And the older of them have these kind of custom painted covers. These are usually very period accurate. The authors usually, unlike writers of Regency romances now, the authors are usually being very strict with historical fact and also with period slang, and also with the conventions of the Regency romance as set down by Jane Austen. So there is no hanky-panky here. That all happens after the book. There's also, and the stress therefore is on barbed wordplay and clever plots. I love them. Absolutely love them. This one is, let's see, lovely Emma Kendrick could not sit idly by while her stunningly beautiful younger sister Charmian was forced to wed the notorious Earl of Somerville. It was bad enough that Somerville was as cynical as he was handsome, and as wild-living as he was wealthy. He is the Corinthian of the title. That's what I mean. That's a kind of Regency-era slang. We know all about Regency-era slang. There were books explaining it in the Regency era, and no one uses it anymore. No, there are plenty of modern-day Regency romance authors. No one would ever use that word now. No one wants to put any kind of a burden on it. Now, the Regency romances that come out now are mostly about costumes. But anyway, it was even worse that Emma's mother was willing to sell the beautiful and desirable Charmian into marriage to this lord of license. But Emma soon discovered the worst thing of all about the scandalous Somerville. When he took her in his arms, he more than lived up to his reputation as a man who could win any woman that he wanted. And I guarantee here that the flip side of that will be that she warms his usurious, rakish heart and makes him fall in love. So the daughter was the younger sister was going to be, but it's going to end up, they're going to end up together in the course of this book, and I'm going to love watching it happen. That is by Eileen Jackson. But a lot of times in these early Signet Regencies, these were an ongoing thing. Signet did 4 of these a month, and therefore there was an infrastructure for them. They needed content to fill this maw. So all sorts of writers went into this, just like they do now for category romances for Harlequin, which means that if you look at some of these older Signet Regency romances, you will sometimes find authors whose names you know from standalone mainstream work, like this next one. This is The Rogue and the Runaway by Mary Jo Putney. Went on to have a booming career. That right there is about as much as you could do in the Regency era. Even that would have been considered a cause for scandal, that a man who's not your brother or your husband touches you like that. And of course you wouldn't be wearing a nightgown anyway, but this is connected with the plot of the story. And what is that plot, mind you? Dark-haired and daring Miss Maxima Collins found it, her name is Maxima, I love it, found it hard to play by Regency rules. She preferred the free and easy ways of her native America to the straitjacket of aristocratic English morals and manners. Maybe that's why she's wearing that thing, because Americans, I can't take them anywhere. But when Maxie fled her ancestral English home, in a shocking act of rebellion, she found that leaving the straight and narrow could lead to danger she never imagined, for this bold runaway ran into the hands of the irresistible and infamous Lord Robert Andreville, who was only too happy to lead the impetuous innocent even further astray. Then we'll move on to another one. This is by Dawn Lindsay. This is called The Reluctant Heroine. And there we have everyone all gussied up for the ball. What have we got here? Regina Alderstock was born an English lady, but now she's far from home and close to danger. Interesting. So we have an American coming to England in the last one. Now we have someone leaving England. Orphaned in a Spanish city in Napoleon's iron grip, she needed all her wits and wiles to fend off an ardent French admirer, the powerful and persuasive Monsieur de Terry. It was in this precarious position that Major Adam Canfield entered her life. This dashing British undercover agent was a master of disguise. But he made no secret of his desire. Reggie's heart had come under siege by a man for whom all was fair in love and war, and as she fought a battle against his passion that she was not sure she wished to win. So there we have a couple of variations. I haven't read this. I don't think I've read this. We have a couple of variations there. It's not taking place in England, and the hero is an undercover spy, but no mention is made of him being a landed aristocrat, which they usually are. Almost always in Regency romances, the hero is patterned on Mr. Darcy. So they have ancestral lands. They have an ancestral home. They aren't working for money, which a spy might be doing. That's very interesting. Sounds like the ancestral nobleman is the villain in this piece. Then we move on to Elizabeth Fairchild. I have quite a few of hers. This is a lovely Lord Ramsay's return. Look at this. They're contemplating an ancient Chinese sculpture. Will that be part of the plot? Let's see. Lovely young Miss Prudence Stanhope was intimately acquainted with the danger of men's desires and the devices and deceits designed to undo a lady's defenses. Already she had survived one such campaign of conquest, with her illusions shattered, her heart broken, but her innocence still intact. Nothing, however, prepared Prudence for Lord Charles Ramsay. Not only was this elegant aristocrat both handsome and charming, he had returned from India with seductive skills unknown to the ordinary English gentleman. What would those be? There's no secret seduction school in India. I wonder if that's supposed to be Indian. That'd be embarrassing. How could Prudence resist this man who stalked a woman as he might a tiger? How could she show that she had teeth and claws with his arms around her neck, with her arms around his neck and her lips crushed under hers? And above all, how could she tell before it was too late if the spell that bound her was sensual sorcery of the East or the genuine magic of true love? All right, this sounds like there may be one or two cultural missteps in this one. I'll have to read it and see whether or not it winces, whether it causes me to wince. And then the last suggestion I want to make here, I have been reading a lot of retro romances. I will continue to do so, including 4 or 5 new releases. Next retro romance video I do, I'll talk about the retro romances that are out in February. But this next one, I found this just at random chance relatively recently. When did I find this? Just a little while ago. And this is Once Upon a Time was the queen of romance, and I haven't read anything. She wrote like 1,000 books. I haven't read anywhere near all of her works. I never see them. And I found one. This is Count the Stars by Barbara Cartland. I don't know if this is a Regency romance. It might not be. Oh no, maybe not. Maybe verging on a Georgian romance. Well, anyway, there's our author. She's the one in the hat, in case you're wondering. Let's see what we have here. Bored by society, the Duke of Brockenhurst bets that he can travel from London to York incognito. On his journey, he helps Valora Melford escape from marriage to a cruel baronet. Pursued, they embark on a daring ride to safety in York. The Duke's disguise remains unbroken until, after desperate adventures, they discover they're in love. I have only read a handful of Barbara Cartland novels, and this is going to make this look like Anna Karenina. If I remember correctly, Barbara Cartland is about as easy to read as an adult book gets. We'll see if I'm right about that. Or maybe this is an exception. But happy to do it. For retro romance, happy to do it. So you are invited. Find an old Regency romance, see if maybe you enjoy it, or if you don't trust yourself to the genre as it has become in the last 100 years, maybe this would be a time to reread Pride and Prejudice. Could be. I'm assuming it's a reread because I did a mandatory read-along, so all of you have read it already. That was years ago. You've all read it already. There weren't any holdouts from that mandatory read-along. So it would be a reread. You could do that. Pride and Prejudice is literature. But anyway, retro romance is another event that I am participating in. I want to make sure that you knew that. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.